First of all, I would like to know that what makes you come back to India for a blues gig? How do you relate blues with this country, with the city Mumbai?
You know, I don't think about the country. I think about the people in the country. It wouldn't be a country if it wasn't for the people. So what brings me back here is the beautiful people of India and the smiles that I get when I play. The smiles that I get when I walk by and somebody recognizes me and I'm not playing. And that makes me seem like I'm on top of the world, man. You know, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't come back. So when I told the promoter, I said, just tell me when and I'll be back to India again.
Right.
But my mother also told me, don't welcome out now. Don't come every day, she said. They'll get tired of looking at you, so I don't want that to happen.
And the world knows that you were influenced by Muddy Waters and who started playing the guitar at private parties in the U.S., emulating Son House, Robert Johnson. So did you do anything similar, anything crazy in your young age to get yourself noticed?
I tried to follow Guitar Slim, which a lot of guitar players are so good they don't have to do it. I still have to kind of put on a show when I'm playing. I get happy. You know, my mother then was kind of religious happy, and they would go to church and jump and sing and stuff, and that's the way I play my blues on my guitar. But I got a lot from a great guitarist that was in Louisiana called Guitar Slim. He made a famous record called Things I Used to Do I Will Not Do Anymore. And when I saw him play, I said, I want to act like him, but I would rather play like B.B. King.
Brilliant. And one more thing, which is like in the present age of hip-hop, a lot of electronica, how difficult is it to make blues survive in this era where people like Justin Bieber are very famous?
Well, you know, that's the way the world is. If you look at the automobile now, you're too young to know you used to couldn't crank it inside. You'd have to go outside and crank it. So music is the same way. You know, technology have moved in on everything we do now. You know, in my last recording, which was in November, every time I would put a track down and take a break and come back, if they were playing the track back, sometime I'd ask, what's that? And they say, that's you just finished it. I'm like, you kidding? But in the early days, the old reel or reel, you know, the technology didn't take as much out there. You couldn't add as much as you do now. So, I mean, that's the way the world is now, man. You know, I'm on the other side of the world now. 50 years ago, it would have took me 2 weeks to get here, probably 3 weeks to get here. Now the plane comes over in 13 or 14 hours. And music, you know, kind of the same thing. You know, it's not like it was 50 years ago with the acoustic guitar plugged into an amplifier. It's a whole different thing now. It don't even sound the same.
I would still love to hear you on an acoustic guitar, though.
Oh, I take my acoustic guitar with me. I think we bought one this time.
And how big a role and in what way do you think both of like you and Eric Clapton have inspired each other? I mean, how big an influence has been Eric Clapton on your playing and you on Eric Clapton's playing?
Well, it's hard for me to explain him because he's so good, but he's been him, Jeff Beck, and all those great British guitar players really exploded the blues more than B.B. King and T-Bone Walker and people like that who was before me, you know, and they did so much for it because the world was ready for the big amplifiers with the Hendrix, the Claptons, the Becks, and all those people like that, and America had it, but they wasn't ready for the bigger sound, and the British exploded that bigger sound so good that America thought it was something new until they came back to America and said, this is not new, you had it all the time. You know, you had Ike and Tina Turner, B.B. King and all that, and that's when we started to being recognized around the world, thanks to those guys.
Brilliant. And any particular anecdote or any funny incident involving B.B. King, Clapton, or maybe even Hendrix, which you still remember and puts a smile on your face whenever you recall that incident, one or two incidents maybe? Of
course, man. Anytime I was in around Eric Clapton, Hendrix, or B.B. King, I lit up like a Christmas tree. You know, your lights just come on, you know, and to be around those guys, as great as they were, it just made me feel like, who in the hell am I? You know, these guys recognize me as a guitar player, and I would, you know, my name is not as big as theirs. And to be in that company, which I made a comment at the ceremony at my award the other night. My mother used to tell me, if you don't have any money, hang around with people who got money, they might drop something.
And like, how's the Buddy Guy Legends Club developing among the youth in Chicago? Are there youngsters apart from Quinn who are coming and playing there?
Oh yeah, we have them coming there, but you know they still got that law. If you're a musician, they pass it, you can come in there. But you know, even my kids, if you got to be 21 to come into the club now, which should be something different, because a teenager, when he gets 14 and 15, he should be able to come in and listen to music if he wants to. But who knows? I have no control over that. But the club it's all over the world. A lot of blues clubs disappeared. America got the DUI, what they call drunk driving under the influence of alcohol.
Right.
We used to didn't have that. And that have hurt a lot of blues clubs. And I just keep the blues club open because why is you going to find the next Clapton, Beck, or B.B. King? You don't drive down the street here in India and say, I'm going to stop in this house because somebody in there can play. He got to be been in a club or somebody seen him, and you say, oh, you should hear a little Tom, Dick, and Harry. Say, for instance, Quinn Sullivan there. I didn't go down the street.
Right.
His dad brought him into the concert while I was playing it, and I saw him, and I said, let me take him where somebody else can see him. And the first time I took him to Eric Clapton's Crossroad, Eric wasn't expecting him, and I brought him out with me. When he played, Eric Beck just stopped and asked me, who is it, where you get him from? And I said, he's an amazing young man. At that age, can play that well.
Talking about Jimi Hendrix, a little like going back to the memory lane a little bit. Like, and where were you and when you first heard about his death, and then again you were also playing his tribute concerts recently. How is his family? How is his family doing there, and what is the surroundings like? Do people still worship him as the Jimmy he was before?
I think so, because I've been begging for. You know, my club is like a museum. I got guitars from all of the great guitar players around the world, just like this opening here.
Right.
I started with Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, Jeff Beck, every guitar player I know. And it was hard to find a guitar from him, but his sister finally gave me the shoes and his shirt, and I'm having his frame now to go on the wall.
Wow.
In the club, yeah. And I got to be careful with it because, you know, you put him up there where the fans can get to it, they'll steal it. So, yeah.
And how was the experience of playing with Howlin' Wolf? We all know about Muddy Waters.
That was the dream of my life. You know, as I said earlier to someone else, when I went to Chicago 58 years ago this year, I just wanted to watch those guys play. I didn't never think I would be able to speak to them. You know, I wasn't that good. And somebody found out I could play a few licks of their music, and I got introduced to them. And next thing I know, they were saying, would you make a record with me? And I'm like saying, make a record with you? You know, yeah, you can play. I want you to play. And actually, the Howlin' Wolf was in the studio for 2 days one day, and they couldn't get the rhythm he wanted, and I was at home. And they said, go get Buddy, and I bet you get it. And I walked in the studio, and they said, can you play this? I said, yeah. And they kind of hummed it to me in the record, the Little Chess record. I said, that's it. Just go on and play the record and go back home and go to sleep. Because I was always felt like I was just a backup man to those people. I didn't think I'd ever be answering your questions now. You know, I was just saying, let me support these guys, and that's all I want. I done got a chance to meet them now. I can play with them now. I can go back to Louisiana and rest. But it didn't happen that way. They told me I was good enough to stay.
My last question would be that the entire music industry worships you. You are pretty aware of that. Is there any guitarist in the last 20 years whom you think is incredible, apart from Queen, of course?
Oh, yeah, I can't name them all, man, but you got some youngsters I didn't get named with, he's not quite that young, but you got Eric Johnson, you know, out of Texas, and you got, what's the young kid name? I can't think of it right. He's out of Austin, Texas, too. Oh, gee, I'll think about it after a while, because I have my cap on. But there's quite a few, but it would be more blues music was being played on the radio as well as any other music.
Yeah.
Most young people are looking for role models.
Right.
And it's, you know, the kid next door to me where I live at don't know who I am. When I go in and some kids see me, they say, oh, all I know is what I read about you. They don't say, well, I heard your record the other day or so on like that. They don't play that on the radio anymore.
I think I'm done with my time.